Welcome to episode 7 of the Portland Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Stephen Tran. My name is Jordan Lee, and we've got a really great episode today. Who do we have on the show?
So we interviewed Aubrey Turley. She has a really great story about how she turned her family's cabinet business and their commercial property into, a bunch of commercial apartments as well as a couple of multifamilies.
Yeah, I love this story because she's super talented and she wears a lot of hats, right? She's not only is she a realtor, but she's also a property manager. Yeah. She holds a contracting license as well, and she's a mom. I guess what we're again trying to show in our podcast is that we believe anyone can invest in real estate.
Yeah, and she gave me a lot of tips on maybe why I should get my general contractor's license. So I'll be looking into that.
Yeah, there we go. Well, please enjoy the show.
Okay, thanks guys.
Hey everyone, and welcome in. We're doing an episode today with our guest Aubrey Turley. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Stephen Tran, co-host Stephen Tran. And we're here in a duplex that Aubrey and her company manages off of South Waterfront area.
Yeah.
But just to start, Aubrey, I kind of wanted to hear a little bit about your background, your story, how you got interested in real estate and property management and construction. You wear a lot of hats, so I'd love to hear how that journey started.
Yeah, sure. So I'm born and raised in Portland. I was told once that makes us Portland unicorns.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Yeah. So I guess you could say I was born into construction. My dad owned a cabinet company worked at one and then decided to own one from when I was pretty young.
Okay.
So I was very hands-on my whole life, very independent, wanted to know how to build things, wanted to know how everything worked together. So then college came around and I decided, nope, not going to the family business.
Gotta forge your own path.
Gotta forge my own path. And so I actually went to Oregon State University and got a merchandising management degree. Decided that I'm a lifelong athlete, and so I really wanted to focus on the athletic apparel industry with the goals of getting in with Columbia Sportswear and Nike.
Nike, yeah. Good town for that.
Exactly. So right off the bat, I actually got an internship with Columbia Sportswear. I'd worked there through college at their downtown store.
Okay.
And then kind of got carved the path to Nike. And I was just working my way up, happy to be there, loving the corporate environment, never looking back. And then, we had a huge market crash, 2009, 2010. 2008 through 2010, I guess.
Yep.
And I actually got laid off. I worked in the retail division, right? So
what percentage of employees were laid off at that time?
It was a pretty large percentage, especially on, I don't know the exact statistics, but on my end with the retail side, we were hit pretty hard.
Like your whole team, basically.
Yes. Yeah. It was a pretty big wipe.
That's interesting because we always think about that crash as like real estate, right? Because we're in the industry and that's what we talk about. That
the retail end got hit so hard. So many people that I worked with in that industry all lost their jobs, and it was within a month or two. Big corporate wipeouts.
Was it like the domino effect of the housing crash? People couldn't afford their mortgage, so they're not going to spend anywhere
exactly.
else?
So the retail numbers were just staggering. Just down. No retail being sold. We were having huge backlog of stock and inventory. So they just weren't spending the money that they used to, especially on products like Nike. They make a fantastic product, but a lot of it can be viewed as sort of, I guess, disposable, right? So we might need workout clothes, we might not. Or the shoe aspect,
maybe I don't need to upgrade my shoe this year or my workout clothing.
So that's what we were really seeing, and so the numbers were just hurting. And I just had this epiphany moment. It totally turned my world upside down. I thought, well, I have no identity without this company.
Yeah.
And it wasn't their fault. They handled it all great. No love lost on them at all. But I decided in that moment that I wasn't going to be a number. I was never going to let that happen to myself again. So I took some time off. I did have a small job in between, but in that time I was working on the backside of how do I build my own empire?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So at that time, I had mentioned my dad owned a cabinet company.
Right.
My brother had actually jumped ship where he was in his own industry too, kind of in the computer science industry, and said, I'm going to go to our family business, and had grown it a little bit and done a fantastic job at that. And so they came to me and said, hey, we need an office manager. You know, would you be willing to do that with your strong background in business? We think you'd be great at it.
So while the Nikes, Columbia, real estate's
Everything.
all crashing, cabinet industry
was okay, you know.
you guys were hiring.
Yeah, we were. And you know, he was small enough at that point that he was able to get through some of those harder times. It wasn't a huge business at that point.
There wasn't a lot of fat to cut.
Right. But building was still happening.
Right.
And he actually was incredibly smart during that time and flipped over to doing some remodel work. And so that kind of kept the ship afloat.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So at that point it was, how do we build this? And
So before, you're saying before, back in like 05 to 08, when there was a ton of construction
It was all
happening,
new-
he was all
new
doing
construction.
cabinets,
That's what he
but then-
focused on.
But then he went to more remodel
Absolutely.
projects for individuals.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
How did he grab that market share?
you know, just through contacts that you meet, people you meet, very much the networking that we do. And because he was so solidified in that industry, he got a lot of referrals.
Yeah,
You know,
because it's
he-
more like, it's kind of like going wholesale to retail, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So he was really well connected in that industry. And that's really where that whole cabinet company really took off. We built and built and built on employees. We built on, my brother did all the sales and was fantastic at picking up new customers. We focused on primarily new builds, new construction, and really kind of getting those cookie cutter neighborhoods so
Right.
that we could just carve out multiple cabinets at once of the same size, you know, same capacity. And
Save a lot on materials.
yeah, we were paying a fortune in rent. So this is kind of where this all comes full circle.
So this is the first big real estate.
This is the first big real estate transaction, paying a fortune, triple net,
yeah.
you know, monthly rent, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for this now seemingly pretty small warehouse. And my brother and I just kind of carved a plan of, hey, how do we buy something? And they worked together, my dad and my brother, on finding that place, and we did in St. John's. And just, you guys, and this was in 2011, and just got a tremendous deal on this 50,000 square foot warehouse. And at the time it felt just overwhelming. It was huge for us. We filled it quick.
Yeah.
So
did your monthly payment go down after you bought too?
it was actually, it did go
Amazing.
down.
Yeah.
So we purchased this building. We actually had an agreement with the owner that they held the mortgage for us for 5 years.
Oh, nice.
So that we could, you know, because we were little at that point, right? We didn't have.
And that's not crazy uncommon in
It's
that
not.
world, right?
It's not at all, especially in commercial. And at that time, it was still a recovery mode, right, on the commercial side. So they needed the capacity. They wanted to get rid of that building. So it was a win-win. We came in where we maybe necessarily couldn't have had that down payment as a small business at that point. We had what we had, but we wanted to jump in. And so they held it for us. And then it ended up being a great deal for them in the end. So, yeah, and then... so that was fantastic.
Then the real estate bug bit, huh?
Right. So then I thought for many years, working in the field, seeing the construction, seeing what we were doing, making these connections with these bigger box builders, and just working in that industry, I just thought, I love this. I love this so much. The days, nothing is ever the same. And so fast forward all through that, I was working in it, not licensed or anything, still working for the cabinet company, but just really falling in love with that industry, really learning and learning and learning in it. And 2019, we just said, hey, Dad, we think you're at the top of your game. We were at about 35 employees by then.
Oh, wow.
And you're killing it. This is great. Sell this place. Sell this business. Sell this real estate. Let's do this. And we did. And we made Dad
just leaned in, right? First you guys were like, hey, let's buy a building. He's like, all right,
sure,
that makes sense.
yeah.
And then you guys were like, all right, let's sell it.
It is.
Like, okay.
You know, it was funny. He was like, well, what am I going to do? And we said, that's exactly right.
Did you have like a crazy workload and that's why we were like, you should probably get out of this? Or
We did. We had a tremendous workload. At that point, we were seeing a lot of increasing costs on lumber. And as we all know now, our timing...
That was already happening in 2019. That's interesting.
Yeah, and our timing, right, didn't know how magical it was going to be at the time.
If you try to sell it now, it'd be a huge difference.
Crazy. So, sold the company, sold everything, September 2019. So, at that point, my brother said, I still want to be in this industry, but I'm ready for a relocation. So he actually relocated to the Phoenix area and works for a cabinet company down there.
Oh, so he's still in the cabinet.
He is, yeah, he's tremendously successful. And my dad's living his best life, retired and owning all these properties because I failed to say this, in that sale was a 1031 exchange. So that was also a huge learning capacity for me to learn how that whole side of business works, how the exchange works.
This was the first 1031 exchange.
It was, yeah, because that was the first building as a family we'd ever invested in.
And this wasn't a 1 unit to a 2 unit.
No,
this was a big commercial thing to like.
This was a commercial building to, you have to spend millions of dollars in the exchange.
Right.
So you're going to go to a 27 unit complex and a fourplex and, keep going from there. And so it was just a whirlwind, you guys. It was so much to learn. And worked with tremendous professionals through that who really taught me a lot, and I have them to thank for this because it's now look at where we are. I still help manage, so to speak, under some capacity, kind of the family business. We do have a property management company that manages the 27 unit complex that we purchased.
Is it on site there or?
No, we don't have anybody on site.
Okay.
We use a property management company out in Clackamas that handles the bigger door capacity than the volume that Aetna Properties, who I work for, takes on.
Right.
They also manage my fourplex out on 122nd as well.
Oh, okay.
So that's sort of how we came into it.
That's interesting that you have someone manage your stuff while you're in the industry.
It is.
But in some ways it kind of makes sense for reliability reasons.
It is. Jordan, it opens up there's so many other doors, right? Could I do it? I could. There's a lot of daily things that happen on those bigger doors, especially. The fourplex pretty much maintains itself.
Not too bad.
It's not bad. Once you get above what I say is probably 8 to 10 doors, you're kind of dealing with another beast. And it's a lot of work in itself. And, there's also the thought that sometimes goes with owners of you really don't want them to know who you are. Sometimes it's okay, but it really kind of keeps my face out of the properties and doing, more of the real estate side too. So it gives them, it's another property manager to handle it. Our company that I work for, Aetna Properties, focuses on more single family, maybe duplexes, townhomes, but more individual units, so to speak. So
got it.
Yeah, so once that cabinet company shut down and sold everything, it was full speed ahead. I literally got thrown into real estate, right? And it's exactly where I wanted to be. So got my license in order to really full capacity do property management and real estate. A lot of people might not know that it's the same license.
Yeah, in Oregon it's the same license,
it is,
right?
Yeah. And most companies will pick one lane or the other to stay in.
Right.
So we are a little bit of a market niche that we do both.
That you both. Okay.
Yeah, and how I found Paul was a really amazing story too. Again, everything just falls into place how it's supposed to. My aunt does work for him actually, and was like, hey, you want to be in this world. He needs someone to help right now. You're transitioning in all of this. Do you want a job here? And that's how it all the stars aligned. And so I've been there for now, almost 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And in terms of like selling property, selling real estate, doing showings, I know you got showings scheduled tonight.
Yeah.
How much of your time would you say is split doing property management versus showing houses and doing real estate transactions?
Sure, great question. So the property management side for me in the capacity that I am in the company really varies. It can be doing like what we see here. You guys can't see this, but we're in a construction site right now. So it may be that I'm coming to walk a property.
Yeah.
It may be that sometimes I do help on the leasing side, depending on where the property is and what the property is. I do a lot of the back end office work as well. We have a tremendous staff that is at Etno as well that manages the maintenance side and the leasing side predominantly. So I just kind of come in a few different capacities depending on the project and what we have available at the time.
You're looking at the higher level, like, okay, I know how to remodel this place. I have experience doing that. I know what needs to be done with the cabinets.
Correct. So I don't handle necessarily day-to-day maintenance.
You're not taking care of the leases.
That's what I hear from a lot of first-time investors or people who want to be investors. I don't want to go under a sink and fix this. I don't want to go fix a toilet. I don't want to deal with all this stuff.
You don't. And of course, this kind of branches off into a different conversation, but this is exactly why, for many reasons, I tell Oregon investors, you need a property manager in line if you have not been in some sort of this capacity before. You know, again, I know you have some investments. We know what it takes, and we also have the licensing to sort of take on the strategies and the property management side. But it also comes with a tremendous amount of work.
Time.
And there's a tremendous amount of legality behind it too.
Especially Portland.
I was gonna say, Multnomah County specifically is very tenant friendly.
Yes.
And the laws are slated such that if you are a property owner who does not understand that legal side of things, it very well could bite you on the back end.
Right. Yeah, you could get into
right.
Could be in jeopardy.
It doesn't always happen. I always have tremendous belief in the tenants that we put in. Rentals are a key factor to the real estate world.
And sometimes even just like screening, that part is really hard for somebody that's never done that before. Like, you know, pulling someone, like figuring out how to do credit, how to list it, how to, you know, ask the right questions to a tenant. For the layperson that doesn't want to get their hands dirty.
Just knowing even the company to go to for that,
I mean, it's its own skill set. It's literally its complete own job, and somebody who wants to invest in, I don't think people want to invest to work more or learn a brand new job.
Exactly. So. It's incredibly time consuming, right? So like I said, we have a team that handles all that for a very nominal fee to a property owner. You know, we've got the maintenance team, we've got the leasing team, and like you said, I do kind of the high level work on the property management side. I am definitely more focused at this point on the real estate sales and side of things. And really focusing on, I know we're kind of in the same market niche here, working with investors, maybe even first-time investors, helping people understand what a tremendous benefit it is to own a rental property.
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, even if it's just getting them in a single door, something like that, or maybe it's taking on bigger units. Maybe you have a first-time buyer who does want a 10-door, 12-door unit. That's great. Obviously before or after that, sometimes it does get into the commercial real estate side. So it just depends on how it's listed and how it's zoned and all those things. So, yeah.
Totally. So we kind of mentioned we're standing here in one side of a duplex. It's in the middle of going through a renovation. One side's about to get filled up with a new tenant, and this one's being remodeled. And you mentioned, you know, it's been very profitable. Do you, just off the top of your head, like, do you have some specs on when your company bought this? And because your company owns a lot of the rentals that you manage, right?
We do, yeah. So, you know, I'm not sure when this one was taken on and acquired, but it was quite a long time ago.
Okay.
And this is the first huge demo that this unit has taken on. So
yeah, you said the tenant was here for 11 years.
Yeah, so right, which is such a blessing. Yeah. I mean, gosh, it speaks hopefully to us as a property manager, but you know, you love having those long-term tenants that just kind of stay and they're happy and they're good. They pay
on time.
I use the terminology, don't poke the bear, right? Just leave it alone. Mm-hmm. So this is the first substantial gut that this has ever had to go through. So, you know, you also look at the returns on that end. The statistics that I have heard, I have no data to present to you on this, but in the industry, is that when you go through a remodel or a gut or whatever it is, you want to keep the price strategy in that you get the return back within 3 years.
3 years, okay.
So, yeah, I can't tell you exactly. I'm not sure where the budget and the capacity is on this one, but like I said, if you look at the lifespan of this place, was built in the 70s. That's a pretty good return right there, that this has been the first major overhaul that this has taken.
And ballpark square footage?
Oh gosh, you know, I can't remember. I want to say it's maybe about 1,500 square feet.
So about 7.5 upstairs, 7.5 downstairs.
And
we're in South Waterfront Portland. There's a lot of nice like coffee shops and restaurants, walkable distance.
Yes.
And it's easy hop to Lake Oswego, easy hop to Sellwood, easy hop to the freeway. What are we looking at you guys plan? I mean, you mentioned that you're not even going to have to list it because you've already got people waiting for it.
Yes, we do.
What are you looking at as like the rental?
So this one is going to be somewhere around 2,100 a month.
Okay.
And you know, there is again no model for this. I'm just giving you numbers that I have. On average, price per square foot rental wise is 1.5 times the square footage.
Right.
So that actually apples to apples works out, and they're getting a new build.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is a beautiful build. It will be a beautiful build out.
Yeah, no, it looks great right now.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, it's had a tremendous amount of work done to it, and like you said, we primarily manage in this South Waterfront, Sellwood, sort of the backside of Lake Oswego, and price per square foot, that's roughly what we see.
Okay.
Is that how you generally price, or do you look at, you know, what are the nearby rentals listed for?
We do all of that, right? So, as I said, that's sort of a baseline, you know, that you look at, area, size of the place, you know, what the market is speaking to. Like, are there a lot of rentals in that area that you need to compete with, or is there nothing on the market?
I mean, nothing in this area. There's nothing. Right?
There's nothing. And in general, we have such a housing shortage in Portland anyway, right? So not only is that for owner occupied, but that's also for tenant occupied. And so there's just not a lot of inventory in the market, you guys. It's just not. So that also is why the turns need to happen quickly. You know, we're trying to get this back on the market pretty soon because, like I said, we have a wait list for this property. Putting signage out is really important. We get calls on that sign all the time. So just kind of marketing it right off the bat really gives you kind of that threshold to start.
Cabinets. Got cabinets being delivered.
Perfect.
That's interesting, and you might not have this one to offer them, but you probably have other stuff that they might be
so you know, right now in the construction zone, we're live, guys. So right now we have nothing, but we do have this property TBD, right? And a couple more literally off of this area. We have one off Second Court, if you guys are familiar with that, off of Corbett.
Okay. Yeah.
And coming up, and then one, a couple doors down on Virginia is coming up too. So September, October, we're gonna have a couple doors on the market.
No, that's great. I mean, I never thought about putting signage out in front of my property when I'm working on it. I actually have people just walking into my property, seeing us work on it, and saying, "Hey, when is this going up for rent?" Every single time I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Every single weekend.
Yeah.
So I can really tell, like, people are struggling to find.
I mean, that's how much of a shortage there
Absolutely.
is.
People have definitely called because they've seen the construction, but it's been predominantly because of the advertising. Now, there's always ebbs and like decisions you have to make with that, right? That is an advertisement that typically that unit is empty. So make sure we're in a good, right location. Yeah. There's safety. Make sure that you have all those tools in place that there's nothing inside that even if somebody did get access to the building that it would be okay. But for the most part, that really works well.
Oh,
yeah.
Good. So, I mean, that's the biggest question I get from a lot of people who want to be first-time investors. Like, how am I gonna get this rented? You don't have to try it; just happens.
You don't, and it's really minimal. I mean, even I don't know what your experience is on listing through Zillow, but Zillow, as an example, for rentals.
That's what I did for my first one. Yeah.
Sure. So it's really neat because it's a very minimal cost, and they shoot it out to hot pads and all of these other little companies that I don't know if they own them or not. I don't know the back end of that, but they post it on several different platforms. And
Julia, I think.
Yes, yeah. So it's so quick, and it's amazing how quickly people reach out to you once that post goes live.
Yeah, Facebook Marketplace is a really good one.
Oh, okay.
That one I get, I don't know, dozens of messages.
So I've never posted on there, but that's okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I get applications on obviously through Zillow, etc.
Sure.
And then for Facebook Marketplace, obviously there's a little bit more work because they're just messaging you. They're not getting screened, and I have to, send them my own screening.
Absolutely.
So that's about it.
So you're self-managing.
Yeah.
Okay. And how's that going for you?
It's good. I mean, like I mentioned, I never have trouble getting a tenant in.
Right.
I have a lot of older properties that have a lot of deferred maintenance, which I'll find out when a lot of the original tenants move out.
Right.
It's a pain point, but I am getting better.
Good.
It's a learned experience.
It is.
I'm getting less hands-on.
Yep.
No more. Well, I do sometimes go under a sink and fix things, but trying to really step away from that.
Sure.
Especially I'm living in Tigard.
Yep.
And I have a property in. Oh yeah, great. Yeah, we should have coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I have a property in Vancouver, and I stopped going out there.
Yeah.
I just like, I do not want to go look under a sink. Just call the plumber.
Yeah.
I'll call the plumber. They'll go out. And it's just been a big boon for my business as a real estate agent.
It is.
And just my free and personal time with my family. So.
It is. In this industry, time is money.
Yeah.
Work smarter, not harder, right? Yeah. We all would like to think, it's so easy for me to do that. That's a DIY project because maybe there's, it's minimal deferred maintenance, right? It's something that we all think is easy. But your time is your money, and it's very valuable. And when you think of paying $200 to a plumber to be in Vancouver versus the commute that we have from Tigard to Vancouver to go look at it, hope you can do it, go back, you're out a day's effort there, right?
I mean, I could go see a client, I can do a showing, I can get a deal.
Right. And, depending on the tax strategy that you take, maintenance is a write-off.
Yeah.
And all of that. So it all depends on how you do that. And property management, I should say, is typically a write-off too. So
there's the line item on your schedule.
There is. So again, where I tell people, gosh, it's so worth your time to use somebody. And it's okay if it's not my company. Maybe my company's not even the right fit for you, but use a property manager. There is a benefit to that on the backside as well. And then you're hands off. You don't have to worry about it. That's our job. Yeah. That's our job to do. So.
Yeah, I mean, I always advise my clients, like, if you're worried about that stuff, just take a little bit more expense, and then it's like shoving into an index fund. You don't have to think about it.
It is. Typically, a typical property manager charges somewhere between 6 to 8% of the rent.
Yeah.
And
Right.
first
And so
month,
when you're not making rent,
right,
you're not having to pay.
right.
And so the property manager is very motivated to lease it up, obviously.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, where again, your time as a person and as an investor is very valuable. So when you are trying to vet those people and come up with all that, and it can be really time consuming. And again, you're in this industry, so you understand the resources, you know where to go, or you've learned along the way.
Yeah.
The average person that's not working in this industry and has an amazing investment property to offer is not going to know how to do all that and probably do it correctly. And that's okay, because they're just not in this industry, and it's okay that this isn't their wheelhouse. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. I mean, we eat, drink, and breathe real estate.
We do.
So.
We do. Literally 24/7.
Now, my girlfriend's complained about that a little bit, so.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have a real personality outside of real
Right,
estate,
right.
so.
It's true. And you get all of us together, and it's all we want to talk about, right? So many people in this industry, like, this is such our passion, and it has to be. And so then on the flip side, it's so fun to talk about, and all of a sudden I will stop and look around, and there are just people staring at you, right? Or you're just like, oh my gosh, yes, let me talk to you about
You're at a
this.
barbecue or something, and
Right.
or something. It's like, oh,
And then I'm
turn on the fire hose.
right, and then I'm the boring kid in the room, so I've lost my audience. Now, so Jordan, you own some investments too, it sounds like?
Yeah, I have the first home that I bought in Portland. I converted that into a rental. Yeah, the first thing I did was I took a home equity line of credit to use that as a down payment for my
Yeah.
new home.
Smart.
And then I converted it to rental, and that lease is paying for both of the mortgages.
Okay.
So it was like crazy, you know, because I'd always like consulted my clients like, hey, this is a good option for you.
Right.
But I couldn't actually speak to it, and I think you know this too from working in construction and from property managing. I couldn't speak to it in the same way that I can now, because I'm like, well, this is what I did, and
Right.
and it felt like, you know, I didn't have to come up with a down payment. It felt like, you know, it kind of felt like cheating, because now that's the revenue is covering all the expenses and it's cash flowing, and I didn't have to come in with a down payment. So
Right.
that was one, and then I've also invested in a couple of other, and I did that with a partner,
Yeah.
just to make the down payment a little bit easier.
Yep.
And we rent to a halfway house that is a nonprofit.
Okay.
Which is a nice tenant, because
Yes.
they sign a longer lease,
Yep.
and they take care of all the little repairs
Yep.
and stuff. So it's like, and they take care of getting the tenants in and everything.
Right.
So it's not as hands-on as a typical place.
That's nice.
Yeah, and that is funny, because I know we talked about this a little bit earlier when we first met, but you mentioned that some of your investments are partnerships, and it sounded like you set up some types of agreements that were protective, which I think our listeners might be interested in, because I do have some friends and clients that are like, yeah, I want to invest, but I don't want to come in with a full down payment, and like, what happens if, you know, my partner doesn't make the mortgage payment,
Absolutely.
destroy my credit, or, you know, how do you
Right.
guys, how did those agreements look like?
Yeah, it is it's a fantastic strategy to have an investor if you can't do it all on your own. And so that is exactly what I did with two of the rentals. Well, we have a house in Arizona that we were going to Airbnb, which I was fascinated to hear kind of your experience with it. But, you know, it's funny. So my dad uses it as a snowbird house, and my brother that I was telling you guys lives in Arizona is only a couple miles away from there. And so when we actually got into it and actually lived there and kind of used it, all of a sudden it wasn't as appealing to let other people stay there. So our strategy kind of did shift, and so we're looking at other capacities on how to get that paid for, right? So that's a side note. But so the two properties that I invested in with my family are the fourplex out on 122nd and that house in Arizona. And so what we have specifically, we can talk about the Oregon property, we have what's called a tenancy in common agreement. And it is a placeholder essentially that one owner owns more of the pie than the other. So there are different strategies. So I cannot remember.
Yeah, with tenancy in common, you can typically set the percentage.
Yes,
right?
you set the percentage. I cannot remember the name of the other one.
Tenancy entirety.
That's what it's tenancy entirety.
So it's like a survivorship right.
Exactly.
So like, let's say that.
And it's equal shares and
Sure.
everybody comes in at once. Tenancy in common, I believe, if I'm remembering the strategy on it, you can come and go at different times. You can be at different percentages.
You can sell your share. I mean,
yes.
The idea with the tenancy by entirety or survivorship right is like, let's say Stephen and I had a property together and
Yes.
he were to die.
Yes.
We both own it 100%. But at his death, immediately 100% of that would go to me. And,
Yes.
we're not attorneys, so this isn't any sort of legal advice.
Of course,
Always
right.
check
We're
with
giving
an
our
estate
personal
attorney.
advice. Right.
And but if it was in common, if we owned it 50-50, when he died, it wouldn't go automatically
No.
to me. It would go to whatever his will or trust states.
Exactly. So that is the amazing capacity about a tenancy in common agreement. You personally can strategize it however you want in that piece of the 100%. So if, for example, I own a portion of it with my dad, so if something happens to him, I get a bigger cut of the way that he has spread it out between his will. But there are also, I believe it's also written in that I get first rights of ownership if I want to buy that piece out.
Oh, interesting. You have a first right of refusal
Right.
on it.
So that is how that is written, and we use a lawyer to do that, and ours is pretty ironclad, and there are great lawyers in the Portland area that will help with that. And then on title, with our Arizona laws are a little bit different.
Yep.
So it's more written on, there are agreements on the backside, but down there, how it's written on title is more important. Here, it's not about title, it's how the agreement is on the back end. So we've really made sure that the strategy here is locked in.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
yeah, and so I really understand a lot of that legal background, and how you do the partnerships and what that looks like if you aren't owning it outright yourself. And it's, like I said, it's a tremendous strategy, right? I mean, I was able to get into something that maybe I wouldn't have been able to on my own because I was able to go in with somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about like division of labor with the partnership. Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah. So, the rent covers really all of the maintenance and everything out there, and it is an income producer, so it's making money. So what we do is we just pay it out of the rent and the business, and then it's actually divided on taxes. So my cut is on a schedule of the taxes, my percentage, and so I'm on the hook for, let's call it 15%. If I'm 15% owner, I'm on the hook for 15% of the expenses.
And you just run that through your personal tax, through your Schedule E, not through like a separate corporation.
No, I Schedule E, thank you. So that's how our accountant has set it up. And again, there's so many different ways that you can cut this, right? We all know. You can own it as an S Corp. You can own it outright yourself. I mean, there's so many ways you can cut this. This is just how we personally do it. And
that's how mine are done too.
And it works. It's easy because then it's just, I have 15% of it, or 30%, and they have 70%. And then it's just straight up, it's done.
Yeah, and a big question that I get from a lot of people is like, oh, do I need an LLC for this? Or how do I stay protected if my tenant sues me? And I always mention, like, you can always get a really good umbrella policy that will cover everything.
You can. And again, as you mentioned, we're obviously not, lawyers in this, but we've all seen all different ways that these are written.
Yeah.
So you can own it as an LLC. You can own it, like you said, just making sure you have a really solid umbrella policy and you have your own name on it. There's a lot of different ways, and then your accountant will step in and tell you what the best strategy is for itemized deductions and what that looks like. So.
Yeah, I think it's, if you're in a profession too where you have a high likelihood of being sued, you know, as a realtor or you know, like a physician or something like that,
Right.
a lot of times they're very interested in that extra layer of protection.
Yes.
And one thing that when talking about like deeding something into an LLC is that I always tell my clients that when you sign that mortgage note, if you get residential financing,
Yeah.
you're saying that you're not going to do it. So, you know, theoretically, they could call the note due, and you know, that doesn't mean that they will.
Yep.
But if they had a reason to, they could. And there's plenty of professionals that do that. But that's something that you always have to keep in mind. If you have a mortgage, a residential conventional mortgage on something, and you deed it to an LLC, and there are special programs that you can have it in an LLC, just not with like the conventional Freddie Fannie, because
Right.
those are for the little guy.
There are, and then, you know, on the back side of that, then you deal with some of the, again, you know, just some things I've seen. So let's say it's in an LLC and it goes into the exchange. Well,
Yeah, that's true.
it's a whole different trick, right? Because, okay, so let's take that, let's just say, for example, so one of our entities from the cabinet company owned the building, okay?
Right.
You gotta keep
You gotta
that
keep it
entity
in the
open.
LLC.
So, right, and so, you know, there's some tricky stuff with that.
Yeah, I've seen some times where, because a lot of clients do this too, where they'll like have it in an LLC and then they'll deed it to themselves right before.
Right.
If it's like they own the LLC 100%. I mean, I don't know. There's obviously title reps can tell you about that stuff.
Exactly.
They're an exchanging specialist, but there's a lot of rules that you need to be in different states too.
There are.
Like I think
Oh,
Oregon might be a
absolutely.
little bit more flexible than some of the states on that
Right.
whole LLC to personal transfer.
Well, and being that I cross state lines, so do you.
Yeah.
We know that it is not the same. we have to know both sides, especially again talking here, Portland metro area. That really is all encompassing of, you know, Vancouver. I mean, they're even saying that's somewhat going up to maybe Ridgefield at this point because we're just spreading out so much. So, but I mean, that's income tax versus not income tax. There's just such different things
Yep.
going on once you cross the border too as well.
Oh yeah,
So-
I shoved that off to my tax account
Uh-huh.
and I'm just like, you figure it out. You know, I hope you're doing me right. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I don't know the numbers that your company is dealing with. Again, I'm talking basic numbers here. Right now, investment properties I'm seeing about 2% of what's being purchased in the past 6 months roughly. Is that what you guys are seeing?
You mean on total transactions?
Yeah, I'm sorry,
2%?
on total transactions. So on total real estate sold monthly, it's between about 2 and 3%.
Is that in this like
Kind of the Portland metro market.
Okay, I think nationwide, I think it's closer to like low double digits. But,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously different markets are like way
Yeah.
higher in investment
I
purchases.
mean, I think Portland's especially tough. A lot of investors are running away from what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want to deal with the lousy. I don't buy in Portland.
Right.
You know?
It's just a
Right.
tighter.
Yeah.
It's tight too.
Yeah.
It's
There's
hard.
just-
higher barrier of entry too, right?
Oh.
It's much easier to buy in the middle of the country than
There is.
elsewhere. Yeah.
There is, you know, it's tough. So you again kind of go after that client. You know, there's a lot of strategy behind reminding them what the end game is.
Yeah.
You know, just hey, so a couple extra percentage points up front. You know, after the amortization, yes, there is a higher monthly payment. There's no doubt, right?
Yep.
But the way that the market is here, I mean, our rent, you know, we have a pretty high rent cap per year that we can go up to, you know, that's set.
Yeah, people complain about the rent cap here, but really, if you look at the like other areas like San Francisco,
San Francisco's 2% on rent control.
Right.
and there's no
Right.
adjustment for inflation.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And here there is, I mean, you know, what are we at? I think this year, I'm just trying to go off memory, I think it was 9.4%.
Yeah, that's about
Yeah, so, I mean, you know,
That's a big increase.
it is. So on the investment side, I always say there's kind of two different thought processes. If, getting in now, maybe you do even out with the mortgage and all the fees. Maybe you're not making a tremendous profit.
If any at all.
Right,
if any at all. Maybe you're losing a little.
Right, exactly. But what does that look like for you in, 5, 10, 20 years? How about when that
100%.
asset's paid off?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's an asset that you are not putting your own cash flow into. That's tremendous.
Well, if your monthly payment, let's just for round numbers, is $2,000, and let's say you're losing money on that, let's say you're paying an extra couple $100 a month, you got to remember that of that $2,000,
right,
it's not all just interest.
Right.
Some of that is principal.
It is.
So you have to factor in principal curtailment payments that happen every month.
Absolutely.
And equity, the Portland market has outperformed the nation for the last 20 years.
Right.
So you got to count equity.
It is.
And we always talk about this, you got to count leverage. You can't just look at one vector or variable when you're looking at investment properties, because there's 4 or 5.
No, people just want that get rich quick scheme,
Right.
It's really tough to sell, especially in Portland. People are like, I want cash flow. I was like, okay, go to Longview.
Yeah.
Right. It's not necessarily
but
right.
I want the equity game.
And that's the thing. You have to remind your buyer. And again, it's so great that we have our own personal experience, that we can now speak to that industry and say, so this is what I did. This is what it looks like for me. Let me help you get to that point too.
Yeah.
And when you really understand what happens on the front end and the back end of those transactions, it really gives us a leg up to be able to help investors who are just like us.
Yeah. No, it's tough. Like I said, I tell my clients who are looking for cash flow, I'm like, you're better off if you get this property and you have a roommate, or you have a renter in an ADU. Most people just pay their mortgage.
Right.
And you can get a huge chunk cut off and just wait,
Right.
Take your time. It'll be valuable.
Exactly. You think of investments in other ways, stocks, Roth IRAs. Some of those you max out what you can invest every year, right?
Yeah, of course. Tax-free gains.
Right. And you're putting in your own cash into that. So you're giving up a piece of your own income, and yes, of course it's going to help you in retirement, which is fantastic, right? But again, this is one of the only assets that you can attain that somebody else is paying that off, and consecutively year after year after year, it will gain value.
Yeah.
Well, and if you want to buy $400,000 of equity of stocks, how much do you have to pay?
Right.
when you buy a $400,000 house, you can get a mortgage for quite a large percentage of that.
You can. And when you look at the statistics, traditionally, stocks and investments, they ebb and flow, right? Nonstop. Traditionally, depending on the market, real estate stays pretty consistent on the up and up. Mm-hmm. And so people, I think, just don't think of it in that way that we do, and how we see it, and what a tremendous potential it has.
Here, for example, you're doing a value add. It's not just about what is it worth. It's like, I can make it worth more if I put some time and effort into it.
Yep.
And maybe the tenant that was here for 11 years, her rent didn't go up a lot while she was there. Probably not. But it was really easy to manage, and now you have the opportunity to come and remodel it and increase the rent.
And there's value add in that, right? A long-term tenant that's quiet, pays.
Don't have to flip it.
Right. So you definitely walk that fine line of what do you raise, what do you don't, what do you do. But once it's back on the market, it's fair game.
Right.
You can post it for whatever you want.
I was thinking. Speaking of that, and on a couple of mine, I have a built-in 3% rent increase.
Sure.
Is that common for your leases that you do, or I guess you're usually doing? Because I usually sign 3 or 5 year leases.
Yeah. So typically for Aetna properties, we do a 1-year lease.
Okay.
And
so it wouldn't make sense to have a built-in rent increase.
Everything comes at a 1-year lease for the most part. And so after that,
and then it converts to a month-to-month.
Well, it depends it depends on what the tenant wants. Okay. So by law, if they do not let us know that they would like to do another fixed term, it automatically rolls rent to rent.
Okay.
Or
Month to
rent, month to month.
Yeah.
Yes, rent. And
Because from an underwriting perspective, if someone's been there in a year and it changes to month afterwards, we usually look for that in the contract, for that line item that
Yes.
says, and then we're okay with it.
yes, and it is in all of our contracts that it states that. And now you can't go backwards.
Yep.
So you can't be in a month to month and then say, well, oops, I decided I'm not moving. I really like it here. So you gotta pick your lane right about that 10, 11 month mark,
Right.
or whatever your fixed term is, and stay in that. Month to month traditionally carries a little bit higher rent.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Do you charge like that $50 bump over getting a 12-month lease?
We typically go up a higher bump on month to month, and
And the reason is because it's higher risk for you.
right. But as we kind of discussed earlier, every door is different and what the rent raise looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Why are we doing it? Is it market rate in that area? How long has that tenant been there? What does that look like? Yeah, just a lot of different reasons, and it's not always the same percentage either. So
Okay, interesting. Huh. So long term, what is the next 5, 10? Where do you see yourself going? Are you going to keep investing in properties? You going to keep building the real estate portfolio,
Yeah. client
portfolio? What are your thoughts on that?
sure, all of that.
The empire.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying, build the empire. I see tremendous growth, hopefully, within our company, and some strategies moving on forward with that. I personally would love to pick up some more investments.
Yeah.
The family business, so to speak, like I was saying, my dad owns several too,
Right.
that we're all kind of tied into as a family. He has a strategy to keep picking some stuff up too, which also, was really great in creating our little family monopoly, by the way, when I got that real estate license, right? It was
Right.
like, cool, now I have access to RMLS
Yeah.
and all this stuff, so I can
Yeah.
really just look for that one thing for one client, being my family. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I imagine with that many units, it's basically like you could, if you wanted to purchase a new, with the profits, purchase a new single family or whatever every year.
Yeah, especially again, talking kind of apples to apples, the bigger doors, the more value you're gaining.
Right.
So.
Yeah, like this duplex is a great example of that. If this was just one home,
Right.
the rents wouldn't be as high as having it as a duplex.
Right, and when you have 27 doors and a big amount of property.
Oh, yeah.
You're just speedwaying down those gains.
Oh, and forced appreciation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love
It's
talking about forced
fantastic. Me
appreciation.
too. So the appreciation is just incredible, especially in this market. So kind of bringing it back, it's definitely going to be hopefully picking up some more investments, growing our company. I have such a tremendous clientele list already, just based on how long I've been in this industry, 10, 11 years, really focused in the real estate market, as far as the construction side, the real estate side. So I have just a tremendous amount of relationships leveraged through that. And it's really been my clientele base because I already knew them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, I was going to ask you too, one last question was, what percentage of your clientele, because I do have an investor, realtor partner, that he ends up, a lot of the clients he refers to me are from the properties that he manages.
Sure.
How many of your renters end up becoming your clients?
That is such a great question. So not too many of the tenants end up, and a lot of times it's tough because they don't tell us if they've moved out and what the purpose is. If they have, purchased a home, if they're just moving on to a different rental, if they're moving out of state, all the things. But where it really has been a huge profit builder for us is our owners. So the owners either want to pick up another property.
Got it.
Or they want to sell the property. So they automatically kind of come to us and, great, you've managed it for X amount of years, you've done such a great job.
Find me another one.
Right.
No, I don't want to deal with it.
Right, either find me another one or get me out of this.
I think you mentioned too, you don't want your face out there to the tenants anyways, so.
Yeah,
Right.
That's right. That's a good point. Yeah.
So, as an example, on my, working for Aetna Properties, on my emails that go to the tenants, it has the office phone number on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have my cell phone number, right? So if they're gonna come at me for any reason, mostly they don't, thank goodness, but I'll just redirect you to the office, right?
Makes sense.
But the owners have access to, my
Right.
personal
They
cell
know
phone.
you're a realtor.
They,
yeah.
Right, they know all of that about me, and so we really field a lot of kind of our in-house, real estate, I guess, leads, so to speak, which is great. And that's another huge benefit of doing both sides of the business. One kind of feeds the other a lot of times. So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. It was really great having you on the show.
Thank you, guys.
Well, you want to tell people how they can reach out to you?
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, of course. So I'm Aubrey at Aetna Properties. So you can reach me by email, Aubrey, AUBREY, at aetnaproperties.com.
Aetna is
AETNA.
AETNA, yeah. And we have a website, aetnaproperties.com. You can reach us through. You can also call the office at 503-699-4732, and we can definitely talk about property management. We can talk about real estate. And again, if we're not necessarily the right property management niche for you, we also have great industry partners that we are happy to refer you to as well.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for
Of
being
course.
here.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks.